You are listening to the Labor Forum here on WRFG with your co-host Diane Mathewitz and Paul McLennan, and we have just finished an interview with Goulet, a young activist who is going on the bus that's leaving tomorrow from Atlanta to go up to the McDonald's shareholders meeting in the continuing fight for $15 an hour and a union by low-wage workers at McDonald's. And now we're excited that we have the president of the Postal Workers Union here in Atlanta, Local 32, to talk about the post office and the postal workers whose contract is being negotiated right now. So, President Flanagan.
Yes.
Welcome to the Labor Forum. I think this has you been one time?
I have been once before, and I do appreciate the opportunity to come back.
Well, we're excited that you're here. I was at the demonstration that was held actually all across the country just this past week, the 14th. That was the right date, right?
That is the right date.
The days fly by. And it was about really trying to bring attention to postal clients, the people who use the post office services, about that the contract between the management and the workers at the post office is about to expire. But before we talk about that, can you just real quickly, there was a report, I think a day before the 14th that I read, where it talked about how first class mail now takes a day or two longer than before. And that was very interesting. The article didn't explain why that was happening. It just sort of put it out there, which so the impression somehow is that the post office is not really capable or there's some issue. Could you talk about why or what has been happening with the US Post Office in, say, the last decade or so?
Yes, basically what has been going on in January of this year, the Postal Service changed their delivery standards. So they went from overnight delivery to basically now 2, 3, or who knows when you will receive your packages. When they made this change, they are basically headed toward their goal of closing facilities. Right now, I think they've closed about 155 nationwide. They have about 82 here in Georgia that they're planning on closing, and they have already closed some. The latest being Athens, which is one of the reasons why the standards change. A lot of that mail is now being processed at our North Metro facility, as opposed to Athens, Georgia. Postal Service has been going through this for basically, like you said, a decade. Basically closing offices, trying to stop the Saturday delivery. They are, utilizing the Staples now. They are into a deal in 2012 that allows Staple employees to deliver mail or take packages over the counters. The unions, of course, have been fighting that mainly because of the fact that these are low-wage jobs and they're not providing a living wage, which is what we're advocating. And it's not so much that we have anything against Staple employees. The thing is, they're going to start with Staples, then they move to Walmart, then they move everywhere else. They have postal employees who are trained. We get extensive training in identifying packages that may be suspicious, recognizing what should or should not be first-class mail, and then there's a guarantee that comes with postal employees under the oath that we have to take when we're hired.
One of the other big things, though, that is this fact that they're always talking about how the Postal Service is in debt, doesn't make enough money. And the big issue, of course, is that Congress passed a law requiring the post office to prepay the retirement of people who haven't even been hired yet.
Yes, and that is that prepaid funding that they're paying into is monies that, like you say, they are putting into, and it really started with the civil service employees. And when they put that in there, we've actually maxed out. So the Postal Service is basically putting this funding in there, and there's no need for it because, like I said, they've maxed out in terms of what would go out to retirement for employees if they're retired. If they release this money or release the post office from that obligation, it will free up a lot of money. One of the things that union-wise we've been advocating to the public to make them aware of is the post office has delivered some 155 billion pieces of mail last year. And out of that 155 billion, we changed 4 million addresses, no cost to anybody. And all of this is tax-free money. We don't have to, your tax money doesn't go toward the payment. It's all by postage stamps or whatever service we provide. So the Postal Service is not in the red as much as they're claiming to be. And that pre-funding, if it was released, it would obviously give them a lot more operating money. One of the things we've been advocating, like you said earlier, we are in the midst of a contract negotiation, which expires May 20th. And in the future, one of the things that we're advocating is maybe the post office should look at banking or some kind of financial services that way the consumers could have something to go to and it will bring some revenue to the post office. We're trying to get them to get shorter lines, maybe utilize more people, to get the shorter lines. It's just things that they can do that they're just not willing to do.
Well, pardon me if I have a conspiratorial bent to this question, but it seems to me that the push on so many services is that you should, is that government should get out of providing services and that should all be turned over to private enterprise. So it seems to me that a lot of this, what's happening to the post office, is to sort of present to the public that somehow UPS or FedEx or some other profit-making group would be able to do this service better, faster, cheaper, quicker, whatever. So I'm seeing that this is a way to try to shift what is actually a service that's been around really at the beginning of the founding of this country, out of making it so that it's really becomes a service that is more expensive and that people won't have, every person won't be able to have. Am I right?
Well, no, you're not right.
I'm not right. Oh!
Well, the thing about it is the Postal Service delivers to about 150 million addresses. And the addresses that we deliver to is everywhere, every nook and corner. When you talk about the other entities such as FedEx, they don't.
No, that's it.
They will not. And if
That's
they
why
did,
it won't be everybody's service.
It would be a cost that would be higher than what the Postal Service charges. Right now, to deliver a mail, like I say, even if you forward or move your address and forward, it's no extra cost to you. You pay the same 49 cents for a stamp anywhere. You go to another entity such as FedEx or some of the other places, UPS, then it's going to cost you more because they're basically in it to make money. The Postal Service operates only on their own revenue. So these entities are looking for ways to make money and to increase. So they definitely will charge you more, and a lot of places they would refuse to go to, or you would just simply not be able to afford it. The post office has been and always will be the people's post office, and that's what the union basically is trying to assure, that we make it stand and stay an American postal workers or post office.
I had a question just starting over about the union, Local 32. How many people do you represent, and what are the different job categories that people may see or not see that are behind the scenes doing this work?
Well, the American Postal Workers Union Atlanta Metro Area Local, we have about 2,600 members. On a national scale, we have about, I want to say in the neighborhood of 400,000 members. We are one of the largest unions. We, in the APWU, represent motor vehicles, craft, which is the drivers that drive the tractor trailers. We also represent clerks. Clerks have a variety of jobs. They are the window, the people who you see, who actually sell you the stamps. But we have on the inside people who separate the mail, and that's what the public don't see. Those people who actually prepare the mail for the letter carriers to deliver from house to house. We work on machines that put out mail at the rate of, I want to say 200 letters a second, a minute, and they have about 256 bins that fill up rapidly. So, you know, we also have data collection clerks. We have clerks that keep up with the time of employees. So the clerk craft is actually large. We also have a maintenance craft. And, you know, one of the things with the maintenance, they do everything from custodial work all the way to fixing and repairing machinery, landscaping, whatever there is that will require the beautification, the upkeep and maintenance of any machinery or the outside of the post office. One of the biggest problems with the post office right now, they're trying to subcontract a lot of our work out, work that our people can do. You do have contract drivers. You also have some work that they will contract out maintenance-wise. And, you know, if our people can do it, if it comes to painting, whatever, we should use our people. That's the same thing that we're saying even when you talk about going to these low-wage jobs. Instead of utilizing people there, hire them as postal employees. Put postal employees there. Provide a living wage for them. Ensure that the same sanctity that you want your postal employees to have, that they're wherever you put a post office.
Could you say a little more about the oath and why the skill of the work that you do is so different from what someone getting hired at Staples might do?
Well, the oath is the concept that we will deliver mail regardless of whether it's rain, sleet, snow. We will basically do whatever it takes to make sure that the mail is safe. We are responsible for making sure that, you know, mail is packaged correctly. We assist the customer in doing so, and we take the oath to make sure the customer gets the service that the post office demands them to have. That oath, when we take it, is, you know, taken so that we can assure that you have the best quality person doing the work that you do. And of course, if you don't, then we hear from it from management.
Right.
Let me ask you about the fact that you mentioned that there's been all these closing, and you mentioned the situation with Athens. Okay, so somebody puts a letter in the Athens, in a box on the street in Athens. So are you saying that now this gets trucked to Atlanta to get separated and sorted, and then gets trucked back to Athens to get delivered down the block from wherever the person was who dropped it in the mail?
In some cases that will happen. For the most part, they will, you know, you will still deliver your mail, drop your mail into the box the way that you normally do. The Athens facility is still open. This is the larger facility that I'm making reference to. It now houses 22 people, and about 80 people got access to what we call moving from one place to another to the North Metro facility and to other areas. So once that accessing occurred, those people are now working at North Metro, and that mail now, yes, ships to North Metro, processed there, and then goes back to Athens.
So I was just talking to my mom last night. She lives in Minnesota, and people may know there's a town called Mankato. It's about, I don't know, 90, 100 plus miles from Minneapolis, which is where my mother lives. She said they've closed the distribution center there. So now, I have relatives. Now, when they mail something that's got a Mankato, they're in Mankato, they're addressing it to somebody in Mankato, it comes all the way to Minneapolis and back. And so I think that obviously is the reason why this little piece of information came out about how first-class mail, normally you mailed something, you know, in Atlanta, you had a real good chance of it getting delivered the next day in Atlanta, because it was going to overnight be sent to a distribution and get to that post office.
And it was almost a guarantee that if you mailed something in Atlanta to an Atlanta address, you would get it the very next day. Once they changed the delivery standards, that's basically what it did. It pushed everything back. If you listen to postal management, they say it pushed back one day. But, you know, if you look at when you get your mail versus when you usually get it, you'll see that it's more than one day. I've seen where it's been a week where a person got a letter that they mailed on a certain day. So it changed the way the delivery, it changed the packages, It changed the way we operate. We usually, we call tour one the night shift. That the night shift is where we usually will process the mail so they would be ready for the next day. Now it has shifted to where we're doing that midday and or during the day, the majority of that work. So that also pushes the mail back in terms of how fast it gets delivered.
So it seems to me that again, this is, again, my mail carrier, sometimes I see him or her delivering mail 7 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock at night. And it just, again, this whole idea that somehow the post office has laid off literally, or fired, gotten rid of tens of thousands of workers over the last decade. Do you know the exact number by any chance?
I don't know the exact number, but it has been a lot of people. Since '92, we've had a number of early outs. And in those early outs, more people left than they expected to. Particularly in the bargain unit craft, which is craft that works the mail. The last one was 2011, if I'm not mistaken. We may have in Atlanta probably about 300 people that took advantage of that early out. So they have had a lot of people nationwide. I don't know the exact number, but it has been, I would think, in the tens of thousands.
Can I ask one more question? Because one of the things that about the Postal Service is that it seemed to me, one, there was preference for veterans. And it seemed to me that this was sort of a service job that really provided, particularly in the black community, among veterans and others, a very stable job that had good benefits and provided a service that really, you know, most people know their postal carrier. Most people know the people at the post office. They go buy the stamps and get their packages sent and all like that. So this was people that we, in our neighborhoods, all knew. And I just find that this attempt to disrupt what has really been many hundreds of years of a good service that people have come to expect to be a crime really against all of us, and certainly the workers themselves who have put years and years into this job.
And I can agree with that, because that's the whole thing about the post office. It is a community place. It's somewhere that you can go and take care of your business. You get to know the window clerks. You get to know, like I said, the carriers. And, you know, you become family. The post office basically is taking that away. When you go in post offices now, where you used to see 3 to 4 people on the windows, you only see one person. Their lines are long, they're out the door. Union-wise, we believe that the Postal Service basically sabotages the post office so they can make amends for these other entities that they want to utilize as these knockoff post offices. You know, of course, the consumer doesn't know that. All they know is that we're not doing the same job that we did. We're not as friendly as we used to be, because those people are not there. You got people who are stressed out because it's one person working, trying to assure that our customers get the best quality service that they can. So they have definitely taken away that.
This is the same pattern that we saw at Grady and that I've seen at MARTA, where you withhold resources from a public institution, then it goes into crisis, and that provides the opportunity for people to say, well, hey, we've got to privatize because this isn't working. But they're making sure it doesn't work, and in order to set the stage for what they really want. Does that sound right?
And that is exactly right. And like I said, you know, if the Postal Service is to stand in the future, the thing to do is to once again staff our windows with qualified employees who you can hold accountable for if there is an error. You know, if there's an error at some knockoff post office, who do you think they go to? They're not going to go back there and say, hey, my mail didn't get delivered right, or it didn't get delivered at all. They're coming to the post office for the answer. But here's this clerk who didn't know anything about it. If you go in there and you put the wrong amount of postage or the wrong classification, those people are not trained to tell you which the best way to get your mail where it's going. So, you know, the Postal Service, like you said, they're sabotaging to the public, their mind, in terms of saying that our post offices are going down when they're not. they're simply understaffing. They're simply not providing or not allowing our people to provide the service that they really expect us to do so.
Could you talk a little, and this again is something we've learned in public transit, that our greatest ally are the people we serve. So in terms of a strategy for your contract, for example, and for the longer term issue that Diane's saying about the integrity of the system, how do you see the relationship between the union and the community? Keeping, and this is something I think we have to keep stressing, that the union members are part of the community too.
That is correct. And, you know, the May 14th Day of Action that we had, the slogan was, "I stand with postal employees." And what the National President Mark Demerstein is doing, he is actually trying to involve the public, your neighbors, your children, your family, member church organizations, everyone, into what is really going on in the Postal Service in terms of the tax dollars not being used, in terms of the short staffing, in terms of, you know, possible banking institutions, in terms of the fact that, you know, it's not so much that our mail has declined even with the internet. You got to think that people are still ordering products, you know, they're ordering catalogs, magazines, newspapers, etc. to be mailed. We still mail packages for UPS. We probably mailed about 2 million packages for them.
I think a lot of people don't know that. It's
Really?
this, because what you said, the post office delivers to every address. These private companies don't, and when they don't, they give them to the post office to deliver.
And I've seen that on tracking. When you track a package, I've seen it come from FedEx, and then when it comes time to actually get the thing delivered, it's got to be passed over to the Postal Service to finish the job.
Because the post office delivers to every address. It's just as simple as that. And those entities don't, and they utilize the post office to get the work done. And the cost is higher.
And they got the money.
They got the money. They basically are designed to get them rich, and at the same time, like I said, the post office, because they operate on their own funds, their own money, it's just a revolving circle with us. It's not a get-rich scheme.
Let me ask, we've got a few minutes left. Okay, so the contract expires in 2 days.
Yes.
Same day as the Greek workers are going on strike, as I mentioned it earlier.
Right.
So that's a big day for labor. So exactly what will happen? Your contract ends, what is going to happen?
Well,
And what are the issues that are the ones on the top of the list?
Well, you know, our biggest issues on top of the list is right now our non-career employees, who we refer to as PSEs on the APWU side. They are, you know, paid a minimum wage. We're looking at trying to make them career, get some of them converted to career status.
Do they make less than $15?
No, they make right at $15.
Okay.
Yeah, right at it. And we also are trying to, we have jobs now that we consider to be full-time under our contract, but they're less than 40 hours. And, you know, so when you talk about OPM, they don't look at under 30 hours, under 40 hours as full-time. It's still part-time to them. So we're trying to, you know, alleviate those. The way our contract operates, on May 20th, if there's no agreement reached, then we continue to work under our old agreement until such time an agreement is reached, either through the negotiation process or through arbitration.
And this is nationally? This is a national contract?
This is a national contract.
Okay.
It is.
So people may also not know that there's actually, I think, 4 unions that represent in general most postal workers.
Yes,
Is that correct?
We have the Mail Handlers Union, we have the Letter Carriers Union, of course we have the APWU, American Postal Workers, and we also have the National Alliance of Postal Employees. That union doesn't actually represent employees in grievances or issues that may, you know, form on the workroom floor. They do more EEOs and or MSPB. Then of course even the supervisors has a union.
All right, so your contract is up May 20th. What about all these others?
The others are not expiring at that point. You know, each of the three major unions have a separate contract, and we also have rural carriers. So those four have different expiration dates. Ours just seems to expire first. So.
But I guess what I'm asking is, will all the rest of these other unions' contracts expire sometime in 2015, or are they kind of
Staggered.
They
staggered? Yeah.
because the letter carriers, if I'm not mistaken, theirs go to 2016, if I'm not mistaken. But they've always staggered.
Okay, so last question then, for our listeners who love their letter carriers, love their clerks at their offices, have always wanted, have always loved getting their mail. Everybody looks forward to getting their mail unless it's bills. What is it that you would have our listeners do? How would you have them help, support the union workers at the post office?
One of the things, we have a APWU website. You're more than welcome to go to the website, and it will keep updates to the public as well as postal employees in terms of what's going on in the post office, what we're doing, how we're trying to involve the community in what we're doing. We also, of course, still have the stopstaples.com where you can sign up and express to the Postal Service your disagreement of allowing people to work in the post office without the proper training. Those are the things that you can do. And you can always contact me at my local office.
All right, he's taking a sip of water and then he's about to give us that information. I know, somehow your mouth gets dry when you're on the radio.
But yes, the information at the Union Office local office is 44349-54111. Again, my name is William Flanagan. I'm the president, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions or allow you or give you the opportunity to assist us in whatever endeavors we do.
And I remember one of your great slogans at the picket line at Staples: the U.S. mail is not for sale.
The U.S. mail is not for sale.
And I think, maybe we should just talk about that just a little bit more, because we've got about 30 seconds. Make sure people understand, the post office entered into an agreement with Staples for there to be a Staples worker, low-wage Staples worker, to be able to accept mail in a Staples store. And then it gets sent to the post office. But in that interim, y'all, there's no real guarantee, because you didn't turn it into an actual post office.
That is absolutely correct. And by not turning it into a post office, again, you run the risk of not having the correct postage. You run the risk of not sending it the correct way or the cheapest way to get to where it's destination. You run the risk of people who may want to do something dangerous as far as mailing things like batteries or gasoline. We recognize suspicious package. We're taught that. The training that they give the staple employees amounts to about a week. The average training for a career employee amounts to 30 days.
I want to thank you so much, William Flanagan, for being here on the Labor Forum, and I hope everybody pays attention to this, because this is an important issue. Every person in the United States, regardless of where you live, really relies on having a good, reliable, efficient postal service for so many reasons. And we wish you the best of luck in these contract negotiations, and we'll have updates again.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
So folks, please do stay tuned to the next program, Democracy Now! Tune in again next Monday for the Labor Forum. Do go to our website at wrfglaborforum.org to fill out our survey, and of course check out all our forms of other ways you can stay in touch with the Labor Forum on our website. This is Diane saying goodbye for today.
Thank you for coming in.
You're welcome. I appreciate it.
Right.